Okay, let's dive into the expired domain abuse update. And this, again, is not really a high impact issue for law firms. Really, what this is all about is folks buying expired domains that at once were websites that were active, thriving websites and had links, and so they have this authority. When you lose the registration for that, the links don't go away, and so you just have this like website entity out there that's maybe not active website, but that doesn't change the fact that if it had 1,000 links from other websites, those links are going to stay there. And so what people do is grab these at auction and then repurpose them and spin them up for something unrelated. Again, this is largely for affiliate websites, and these are people who are gonna take the website and then try to turn it into a guide for barbecue grills or something like that. So again, this is really not a huge deal, but what I would think about is just asking your SEO provider to make sure they're not using expired domains in their process, such as link building and stuff like that, because I think there's more potential for 301s to be problematic. And I think something that I'm going to talk about in just a little bit is more about the importance of brand signals. And so I think when you are looking at this tactic, if you're either thinking about setting it up, repurposing the website, or just doing like a 301 redirect to your main site, it could potentially come with some baggage, because you're going to inherit all of the links and anchors from that website, which I've seen personally go against a website's authority, because you're basically confusing Google about what that website's all about. So avoid these and avoid, basically, if we want to focus on getting as much as you can, natural backlinks, or if you are going to buy them, go from a real varied sources, so that you're not creating these like really easily catchable type signals that Google's going to look for. So again, those two, not a big deal. Now let's get to scaled content abuse. This is maybe the most impactful item for lawyers in 2025. So scaled content abuse is AI writing. Okay. And just as a quick background, I'm not going to go through the whole saga of how this has played out over the past year, but Google went from, hey, don't use AI content on your websites, to, hey, if you're going to use AI content, just make sure it's really good and fact checked, and and all of that stuff, or limited use of it is okay, to now they just don't really care. And they are creating this. I mean, they arguably the biggest generator of AI content, with all of these AI overviews that have hit all of the search results that were in largely inaccurate, not really well done. I think they've gotten better since they initially rolled it out. But bigger point here is that there was this, at one point there was this concern that Google's not going to rank content that's developed from AI. They had some sort of test that you could catch it by using these AI detectors and stuff like that. All of that has basically been proven to be just a big load of junk. Google is, creating products like Gemini. They're allowing Gemini in their suite of Office tools like Docs, and allowing you to write content. So there's no real signal from Google that they're punishing pages written via AI, right? Where the distinction happens is this idea of scaled content abuse. And what that really means is creating spammy, super low touch, auto generated content, and really doing it at scale is the biggest issue where people are going to get in trouble, because we've tested this, and there's really no way for these AI content detection tools to catch AI content. They will give you a report, but we've tested these and they're not reliable. We test them between AI generated content versus human content, it will often say the human content is the AI generated content. So I don't put any faith in those. I do think Google would be able to create a much better detection system for that. Uh, but it doesn't appear that that's what they're doing. So what it appears is happening is, they're basically punishing people who are doing it at a very high scale. Um, this all played out earlier this year, or around May, when there was kind of this large scale attack or punishment of people who were out on social media talking about how they are getting rich doing scaled content. So they were setting up websites overnight with 10,000 pages, 100,000 pages, really, creating this low quality, high volume type of content. And that created some big problems for Google, into their search results and also them as a business. First, they saw that people who were, creating 1,000-page websites could quickly establish topical authority, and so they were able to kind of game this system by creating all of this content. Google falsely identified them as a real expert on the topic, gave them ranking, and pushing out people who, maybe had more actual experience with this, and but didn't have the volume of content that had been produced. So the overall issue here was generally the degradation of quality of those search results, right? And so their number one asset is the fact that people look to them as the undisputed leader of giving them answers, right? And so when you have a threat to giving your users quality answers, it's a problem. And the more they saw people ranking using this auto generated content that doesn't really have much much value to it, and it's essentially uh, you know reformatted, repopulated content from existing content on the web. There's no knowledge add, there's no real value add in a lot of ways to this content. Now, it can be created at a very high quality, but typically what I've seen is that the mass AI content where you're just plugging in a keyword and saying, go write me an article, is just as bad as if you know, paid someone $5 to go write an article. It's there used to be spinners where you could kind of make it create tons of different versions of a page and stuff like that, and that's kind of what it equates to, is just very low value content. The other thing that impacted Google outside of this was that they are responsible for crawling thousands and thousands of pages, excuse me, billions of pages on the internet. And so when this thing kicked off, kind of like a bomb overnight, there was like millions and millions of new pages being created. This puts an uh, uh, enormous amount of energy and resources. It requires that from Google to find all this information, classify it, organize it. That's all happening by their hardware, their servers going out there, finding all of this and doing all of that. And so, imagine just over the internet basically doubles overnight, and they are now tasked with going out and figuring out how all of that fits in with the current results, what should be rewarded, what's even out there, all of that stuff. And so they publicly, or not publicly, but it became public, put down a bunch of these creators and people who were, talking about how they were able to do this and the success they were having and stuff like that. And so, long story short, this is, mostly about people who are using content or using AI to create scaled content. It's not going to be a big deal if you use AI content in your website. But I'm going to talk about, the kind of the key takeaways and how you can actually learn from this and implement it, and what that means for your 2025 content strategy and overall just presence on the web.